just be on the lookout for all of the trainings coming up. Okay, so all right, so we are now on the fifth week of the 7 week series of the 7 critical steps. And let's see, we talked about the first week. We did the market and where you should be, how you figure out which market that you should be in. And then the second week we did setting up your office and really setting the foundations of your office up, your companies, and like becoming virtual and getting to the point where you can just like, run your business off your phone when you're out looking for deals and stuff like that. Then we did the third week, we did marketing strategies and all the different types of marketing strategies that are out there, which of course I saw Karen, she said, you have to, you should be focusing on marketing, which is totally true. Like if you are a newbie and you're like, I have no idea what to do, you should be focusing on marketing and getting marketing. Because the truth is that first of all, you learn by doing, right? So you can sit here and you can watch all these trainings and stuff, but the only way that you're ever going to get any deals is if you market, right? You can't rely on the MLS, too many hands in the pot. And you can utilize the MLS or all of these like comping softwares that are out there, PropStream and Privy and all these ones that we're partners with. You can utilize them to run comps. Okay. But and actually I can give you I'll give you a like a quick tour of Privy so you guys kind of have an idea of how it works. I can do that here in just a few minutes. But because I use Privy to run comps. And all of them are kind of the same. Let's see what else. And then, so marketing is the most important thing that you should be focusing on. So you need to get some sort of marketing out. If you have no money, you should be doing free marketing, right? If you have some money to spend, then you should be doing direct mail marketing. And if you have more than some money to spend, then you should be doing online marketing, or both direct mail and online marketing if you have like a lot of money to spend. And really the truth is that free marketing is going to get you a deal or two, and direct mail marketing is going to get you a couple of deals. Online marketing will get you more deals. And then if you do direct mail and online marketing together, you're going to get like a ridiculous amount of deals. Okay. So the more money that you spend, the more deals you're going to get. Okay. That's just how it is. All right. You got to spend money to make money. All right. So that's kind of how it works, and if you need help with marketing, then I highly recommend that you watch week 3, right? Week 3 from the 7 critical steps is all about marketing and marketing strategies. And you can find those in the online courses section of the members portal. Okay. And we're updating that as as each of these are finished, then we're updating that. Okay, so now and then last week we did, putting it under contract, negotiating, we went over the contract, we went over running a deal, like a quick deal analysis, and negotiating a little bit. We're actually going to take that and we're going to do even more of that, because this is kind of the hardest part, right? Is like really truly understanding how to run deal analysis and look at your deals properly. Okay, so we're going to just get back into deal analysis and really become very, very good at deciding, because this is the thing, this is the question that I get, is this a good deal or not, right? That's like kind of the question that we get all the time. So essentially on this call, I'm going to help you to figure out how the deals are good, okay? And if they're good. And if you guys have any deals, if anybody right now is looking and they're getting calls or anything like that, let me know. We can analyze those deals for you. All right. And so this one, so this week is analyzing deals. That's it. And then we have 2 more weeks after that. Okay. We still have 2 more. So this is week 5 of the 7-week series. And all of these webinars that I'm doing are going under online courses, under 7 critical steps. We're creating it into an online course, okay? So again, I'm Stacy. If anybody doesn't know who I am, I'm Stacy Rossetti, and I'm the founder of REI USA. And I invest in real estate, primarily self-storage, but I've been investing in real estate for 10 years, and I've done pretty much every transaction you can imagine. I've done it all. All right. And I just like to teach, I just like to help people figure out, what the next steps are and stuff. So if you're challenged at any part or anything like that, then just let me know so I can make sure that I can help you to move to that next step. All right. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to bring over my flip chart, and we are going to focus on analyzing deals. Let me just move this over here. Actually, look at my flip charts this way. And let me get my chair out of the way here. Move this over a little bit here. Move this just a little bit more. Okay. All right. Now we're talking. All right. Good. So now, where's my pen? All right, so remind me, from everybody that's here, remind me kind of what your status is. Are y'all newbies? Y'all have like no idea what you're doing? Or have you even started doing any marketing? Are you just here to just educate yourself on all the different types of things? Have you done any deals? Has anybody done any deals? And if so, what kind of a deal have you done? And also tell me, where are you located at? So I know, so I can kind of focus on that as well too. Okay. All right, so we are going to talk about analyzing deals. Also, let me know if you were on last week's call. If you haven't, if you weren't on last week's call, let me know so I can know what I need to do. Okay, so Rita is in Tucson. Okay, cool, awesome. All right. So okay, so if you remember correctly, we did the ARV formula. The ARV formula is, all right, if you remember from last time, if you haven't watched last week's video, then you should watch that. That's your homework, okay? But it's the ARV times 70% minus repairs. That's the quick formula. All right, that's what we went over last time, is the quick formula. All right, and ARV is the after repair value. And then times 70%, 70% is called LTV, loan to value. And then you're going to minus your repairs. And this equals what's called your MAO, your maximum allowable offer. Now this is your quick calculation. All right. And so you always want to have this formula like handy dandy, like next to you. If you're running calculations, then you can just always run this. If you want to, if you are a wholesaler, let's say this right here, let's see, this is for rehabbers. If you're a wholesaler, if you want to be a wholesaler, then you would minus your fee, the wholesaling fee from this, and then that would equal your MAO if you want to wholesale the property. Okay. So there's really like two different ways to look at it. Right? This is a wholesaler, and then this is like the rehabber. All right. And we'll get into, like, we can also analyze deals for instance, like, rental properties as well. Okay. And a rental property, you definitely don't want to be looking at this formula unless there's repairs that are needed. If you buy a rental and you look at the rental and it's like, it's looking at it pretty good, it's kind of like, you don't want to be using this. This is for like rehabbers and wholesalers. Like if it needs any work or if you're going to wholesale it, this is the formula that you would use. Okay. An easy formula to figure out what kind of what kind of offer that you should make. Like, it just, if the person that you're talking on the phone to is in a ballpark, right? Like if they say like it's I want $150,000, and you run the numbers and it's like 100,000, well, it's not in the ballpark, right? It's not even close. You have to say, okay, like, how am I going to figure out how to do this, right? Or is this even a good deal? Should I do anything with this? Okay. So that is that. Hopefully everybody has this formula down. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we'll talk about like rental properties. And honestly, there's no formula for rental properties, except for on a rental, you're going to do on a rental. And this would go for also like, vacation homes and things like this, because essentially with the vacation home, your backup plan should be that you should be able to rent this thing out. If something happens and you can't do vacation rentals anymore, or, whatever it's called, traveling nurses, whatever you want to do, like essentially your backup plan should be, your exit strategy should be that I can just do a rental on it, right? You always want to make sure on a rental that you can at least cover your mortgage if you rent the thing out, if something happens and you can't do an Airbnb, okay, or something like that, okay? So that's on that. So that's number one. So when you're looking at a rental property, what you're going to be doing, number one, is you're going to run comps. So you'll find the ARV, or you'll find like comps, okay? And, most of the time, now you guys tell me where y'all are at, if it's different. Me personally, what I teach my students is, you want to get the most amount of ROI on this property, on these types of properties, right? On any property, right? But especially on rental properties. And so what that means is that you want to make sure that, if you rent the property, that there's going to be enough spread for you to pay these items. Okay, and these items. So you're going to be looking at taxes, okay, insurance, vacancy rate, which is a percentage. Usually it's around like 3%. Usually you calculate like 3%. Okay. Now this is not for multifamily. Multifamily is like considered a commercial property, and you would use like a cap rate to do that. So this is like residential, just so y'all know. And you would also do a maintenance fee. Okay. I don't know if maintenance is spelled right, actually. So, but taxes, insurance, maintenance fee, and vacancy rate. I can't think of really anything else, unless y'all can think of something else I need to add. But these are kind of the 4 biggies for rental properties, right? So what you're going to do with the rental property is you're going to go, number 2, to what's called Renometer. Has anybody heard of Renometer? And if you have another website that you go to, let me know. All right. But most of the time with rental properties, you're just going to go to like some sort of a website like Renometer. Or I don't know if it's rental meter. I don't know how to say the word. Okay. But essentially whatever it's called. All right. These are websites where you can put in the address and the bedrooms and the bathrooms, and it like spits out what the average rent is for that area. Okay. So you want to find the average rent for area. Okay. Now, some people, they talk about cap rates for like rental properties. Like one of my students, she's like, I'm running my numbers. It's like a 6% cap rate, right? But I mean, most of the time most people are not talking about cap rates when you get into like rental properties, unless you start creating like these portfolios, right? Then you have like 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 houses. And that really like, when you start building these portfolios, you talk about cap rate a lot, because it's really doors and not like one house. But if you're just doing like one house, right? So you would just look at essentially the Renometer to see what the average rent would be for that property. Okay. And then you're also going to look at, is there any repairs? And a lot of times you'll come across houses that are like, it only needs like 10 or 15,000. It really just needs like paint and carpet and that's it. Right. And especially for rental properties, you don't want to be like, customizing this house and making these big rehabs unless it's like totally dumpy. And it's like, I just need to like rehab this whole thing. But then is it really a rehab or is it a rental or a rehab? It really should just be flipped, honestly. You know what I'm saying? So like, you want to look at what your rehab would be in the area. And that's usually based on like price per square foot, right? Price per square foot. And every area is completely different. So you've got to learn in your area how much like a rehab would be. We talked about this last time where, I go off here in the Atlanta, like in the Georgia area, and really in the Southeast, essentially the numbers are kind of like in the 5,000s, right? So 5,000 for like, for typical houses that are like, from 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, a roof would be around $5,000. An HVAC would be around $5,000. Not air conditioning, plumbing would be $5,000. Electrical, like all new electrical, be $5,000. Okay, so we kind of like, if it's like a bigger rehab, that's kind of how you really go through. All those major components of a rehab would be 5,000. But on a rental property, essentially what you should be doing is in the forms directory, we have a what's called a repair estimate cheat sheet. It's like very basic line items of like, what you should be looking at in the house and then how much it is. And it gives you kind of an estimate. And you can always get into that sheet and you can just like update it and change it and do your thing, right? But for now, like that's a good starting point. And then once you get into it, you can always like change your numbers and stuff, okay? And somebody says, Hot pads shows rentals. Okay, so hot pads is another one. Okay, good. So repairs for a rental, like a rental rehab, are just very basic repairs, right? Because you want to get the highest ROI that you possibly can. Okay, so make sure that when you start running your numbers, that you say, okay, like in a rental rehab, maybe I'll spend the paint and the carpet that it needs, right? But I'm just going to do very basic, because they're going to tear the house up anyways, right? So like just very basic rehab. And you would look at like, most of the time it's price per square foot per your area for rentals. So you could estimate it that way. So for instance, like us, a rental rehab in Atlanta is probably around $30 a square foot, right? So, so you want to try to base it. So the only way that you can figure this out is, of course, if you get a lot of quotes first and you start getting the idea of what contractors are going to be charging you for the repairs. And we have in the forms directory, we actually have a spreadsheet, and it's called rehab statistics, where you could put in you could keep all your rehabs on one sheet and put all your numbers in. And after a couple of houses, you start seeing those numbers. You're like, oh, you know what? I'm not really only. And this was a 2,000 square foot house, and I spent like 15,000. This was a 1,200, and I spent 10,000 on average. The price per square. As you start looking at your numbers, you can figure out what your price per square foot is. Figure out really what your own numbers are. Right? Don't sit there and go off somebody else, somebody else's numbers, because the rehab to you and a rehab to somebody else is completely different. Believe me, it is. It's completely different. So you can kind of get an average ballpark with the repair estimate sheet to get you started, which is in the forms directory. The rehab statistics spreadsheet is in the forms directory. So there's two spreadsheets that I just mentioned. One of them is the rehab estimate. That's not a spreadsheet. That's more of like a checklist. The rehab estimate sheet is in the forms directory, like a checklist with prices on it. And then the that's called rehab statistics. And rehab statistics is like a master spreadsheet that you can put in all your numbers, start keeping track of your rehabs, start really knowing your numbers, right? The best investors are the ones that are going to look at their numbers, look at the data, and try to like come up with their own. Essentially, what was happening with me is like I started rehabbing all these houses and started looking at all these numbers. And then what happened is I created a checklist or like a scope of work or a spec sheet based on the average amount of money that I had spent in a certain amount of time. Right. So really getting to know your numbers is key into like any type of property, rentals or rehabs. Okay. And even wholesalers, really kind of really learning your numbers. But for rentals, essentially, you're going to try to figure out what your price per square foot is for a rental. And then you can easily come up with that number. So on average, if your area is $30 a square foot and your house is 1,200 square feet, well, then you know that you're going to pay like $36 a square foot or whatever. Okay. Something like that. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions on that before I move on? So we're talking about analyzing your deals, like going deeper into the deal analysis. Now, when I run my deal analysis, and actually in the forms directory, there is a deal analyzer in there that you can use. But the truth of the matter is like there are so many apps out there, like ridiculous amount of apps. All right. So if you need a deal analyzer, what I would do is just download rental deal analyzer. Let's see what we got for that. Let's see if we can find something. Let's see. Let's see what we can find. Does anybody have a suggestion? Now there is a couple of spreadsheets that are under either the forms directory or under partners, right? So for instance, Rehab Valuator is there, and Flipper Force. Like if you want an all-encompassing CRM, Flipper Force is like the way to go, right? Is there anybody here that's like, I'm going to be the next rehab queen of Arizona, right? If you're going to be like the rehab king or queen of any state, then you should be using Flipper Force is what you should be using, right? And if you're like, yeah, maybe I'll just do like rental rehabs here and there or whatever, then you can use there's a rental valuator and there's a rehab valuator. If you're like an Excel spreadsheet type of person. But if you're like, yeah, I just want to I'm just going to go on and I'm going to look up for look an app up, then you would do rental calculator. Yeah, there's so many. There's like Dill Check. Oh yeah, Dill Check is a good one. Everybody uses Dill Check is what they do. Okay, so Dill Check is good. Landlord Studio. And then there's financial calculators, rental property calculators. But the one that I hear a lot about is called Dill Check. I think it may probably cost something. Let's see. I'm not sure. Maybe there's like a free version. Does anybody have Dill Check on their phone? And, so it really kind of depends on what type of person. I'm a spreadsheet person. Like I run all my analysis on a spreadsheet. I was because back in the day when I started investing in real estate, there wasn't even such thing as called apps. You know what I'm saying? So like I couldn't go on and do it now. Now you got apps. So it's like all my students and all my coaching programs, they're just basically, running the deal analysis with an app or something like that on their computer. Okay. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? AJ says, so how do we know if a rental is a good deal in the rental perspective? That's what I was just going over. So let's just say that you find a property that is the owner, when you talk to the owner says, I want $150,000. And you run the comps, and the comps are, it's worth $150,000. That's it. That's all it's worth. Okay. Or 140,000 or 160,000. So there's not a lot of spread essentially. All right. When you start coming across these kinds of deals, then there's a couple of options that you can do. Number one is you can, if you know that it'll appreciate even a little bit, then it would be a rental. It would be something that you do for a rental, right? Depending on what the average rent for the area is. Can you cover the mortgage? Can you cover your taxes, insurance, the vacancy rate, the maintenance fee, and your mortgage from the rent? Okay, so that's the question. That's the 5 things, and I can put mortgage here so that you guys know mortgage. I don't know if I spelled it right. But anyway, so if you can cover taxes, insurance, vacancy, maintenance, and your mortgage, right, through the rent that you would be getting, all right, then that's when you would start looking. I would say, okay, like this could be something that I could possibly rent out. All right, this is something, and you want to make sure that you have this spread of at least $300, at least $300. Okay, and when you run, if not more, right? So $500 would be a great, like, would be good if you're making like 500 netting $500 a month on a rental. After all of this is going through, that's considered a great deal. Okay. And, but typically $300 to $500 is an average, as an average net after all of this is paid. Okay. So when you start looking at that's why you have to go and look up the rental income. So, so that you can gauge how much extra you're going to be making. And then you have to run the numbers. If you say, like, if you look at this house and the one that we said is $150,000 and they want $150,000. Okay. And so now what you're going to look at is you're going to look at number one, the rent, and how much money is the rent going to be? And then number two is, how much are you going to net, right, after you pay the mortgage? And then number three is, I just lost my train of thought. And number three is, I think, I just saw this question, Janet, and then I was like, oh. Anyways, well, I'll come back to it because I know there's a very important thing to it. We'll answer your questions. Janet, what's a good percentage to set aside for capital maintenance? I say 3%, but some people go up to 10%. But a lot of times you'll do, it's like between 3 and 7% is what it is for capital maintenance. Okay, that's kind of what, so you can put that, and you can put this as a percentage as well too. And some people, vacancy rate, they want to do more as well. Like on average, you see 3%. On average for maintenance, you see 3% as well, or up. All right. So depending on your area, right? If there's a lot of vacancy in your area, then you want to do a higher vacancy rate. If the place is like, maybe in a bad area where people are going to be like, maybe, breaking into the place or dumping it, like this is not a good area, then, which is not bad, because I do like areas where, people just like, it's just dumpy areas. Everybody's got to live somewhere, right? So I'm okay with doing those areas because I like to get like super cheap houses. Okay, so the truth of the matter is like the cheaper that the house is, the better your ROI is, the better your profit's going to be. Okay, so that's why I like to do like super cheap houses. So for instance, like in Austin, Texas, right? And I think I've said this before if you've heard me, but essentially in Austin, Texas, like, it's like super expensive there. Like I'm looking for a piece of land right now. It's like 150 grand for a piece of land. It's like crazy, right? Just houses are like ridiculously expensive. Like Austin would not be the area for you to buy rentals at all. Like Austin is not a good area. And because the houses are just way too expensive. And honestly, the truth is like, we don't know really what's going to happen over the next couple of years in Austin. Is it going to just keep going up, or is it going to bust? So you want to look at, and that's another thing with rentals, is you really want to look at like what's going to happen over the next couple of years. What is going to happen to the market? Like Austin, all these like tech people are coming in. It's supposed to be like the next like Silicon Valley kind of space, So it may go up. It may not. All right. So you want to look at like, and so in Austin, of course, like vacancy rate is, I mean, there's not enough houses in the world right now anyway. So, you know, you can keep that in mind, but especially in Austin, there's just not enough houses. And also you know, Austin is not like, people kind of maintain their houses and stuff in all of the Austin area, you know, to get the greatest amount of profit. So that's kind of what you look for. But when you run your deal analysis, you have to always keep in mind, right, these things here. So what are, you know, how much money, how much is the mortgage going to be, right? So your lender, and how much are you going to be paying, all right, versus what is the rent in the area going to be, right? And what's that difference minus your taxes, insurance, vacancy rate, and maintenance fees. And if it's anywhere between $300 and $500, it's usually a thumbs up. But if you're paying over $100,000 for this property, your ROI decreases, right? Because, and the reason why is because when you, the less amount of money that you spend on a property and the more money that you make, you know, of course, the more profit that you make over time, right? Whereas like if you're spending $250,000, like in Austin, like a house is like at least 250. If you're spending $250,000 on a property and you're only making $300 to $500 a month, I mean, that's just not like, it's hard for you to make money and to leverage your money that way. Whereas if you come, for instance, to Atlanta, and if you come to Atlanta and, for instance, you find a property for 50 grand, which there's plenty of properties here outside on the outskirts of Atlanta for 50 grand, right? So then you have this like mortgage of, you know, maybe less than $500 a month, and you're renting the place for $500 a month, right? Or something like that, or maybe even more, $1,000 a month. But you have to keep in mind what that appreciation of that house is going to be and how long it's going to take you to pay that house down versus like a $250,000 house, with the rent being, if the rent is $250,000 and you're renting that place out for $2,000 or $2,500 versus a 50 or $100,000 place where your mortgage is, you know, $500 or $800 and you're renting out for $1,200. So you have to look at what the I personally feel like you can leverage your money more when you buy cheaper houses. Usually we recommend $100,000 or less, right? So for instance, like I bought a house for $8,000 and I rented out for $400 a month. All right. And I put $2,000 into it. Okay. And so I was all in at like 10 grand, and that was like 8 years ago. And I've gotten $400 a month for 8 years. So it's 4 times 8 is what, 3,200 times 8. So that's like, how much is that? 32 is times 8. That's $36,000. So I paid 10, and I've done nothing else to that. I put an AC in is what I did. And it cost me like two grand or so. And other than that, like the roof was good. Everything was good inside the house. It was fine. So essentially, you see what I'm saying? Is like I had this $10,000 house that I've been renting for $400 a month and I paid that thing off in the first like 3 years, and I've had it for 8 years now. So essentially now I'm plus 20 grand on that house, and the house is probably worth around 50 grand right now. All right. So you see what I'm saying? Is like you want to look at the whole picture for a rental. You want to look at what is the price. You want to look at what the rent's going to be in that area, what your lender terms are going to be, right? And you want to look at what your mortgage is going to be, and what all of these are going to be. So what are you going to net, and how long is that net, and how long is that net going to help you to pay off that property? And that's one thing also with rentals that a lot of people don't do, is like you should be taking that $300 to $500 and putting it right back into the mortgage, right? So you can accelerate that that payment. But a lot of people, what they do is that $300 to $500, they just pocket it, right? But I'm telling you that if you do the I'll show it to you. So, especially in rentals. So if you buy one house, let's see, hang on. And you buy this house, let's say for 50 grand, right? Your first house for 50 grand, and your mortgage is $500 a month, let's just say. Okay. All right. And your rent is, you're going to get for 50 grand, let's say you get like, $700 or $750. So you're netting 250, right? So it's $750 and you're netting $250, which is not really like, you should be netting like 300. So maybe 800 would be good, right? But you're putting the entire $750 that you get into that mortgage. So this $250 is essentially going to accelerate. I mean, really, it chops it down like so fast. And so I highly recommend that if you can do that, because a lot of people don't do that. And essentially then it takes them 30 years to pay that mortgage off. Whereas this is called like accelerated depreciation, right? So then what happens is so it takes you probably, let's say like 16 to 20 years to pay that house off instead of 30 years, okay? And you find another house, that's 50K or 75K or 100K or whatever. I say 100, this works for really good for 100K or less, all right? And then it's the same thing. It's a 500 mortgage, and you do $800, so you can make 800. So you have this 300 extra. And so what's going to happen is you're going to pay that into the mortgage and pay it off. And it's still going to be the same amount of time. Just pay all of it right into the mortgage. But what's going to happen is that once you finally pay that off, this off right here, then you can start putting that money right into that house, right? So that $750 that you were making every single month, you put it into this house as well too. So now you're paying like $1,500 instead of $800. And then like, it just takes a couple of years to pay off your mortgage. And you do the same thing for that over and over, right? So you're just all that money that's coming from these two houses. And essentially if you have like two houses, eventually you can pay off that third house. You get like a 30-year loan at like 4% interest, right? So your mortgage is like super small, but with like all that money going into it, you could literally pay that house off in just a year or two. I mean, like super, super easy to pay that money off. And you just keep doing it. And then it's compounding. It's really compounding, and it just keeps compounding over time. My coach taught me that. So if you want to get into the rental business, highly recommend, especially like luxury vacation rentals too. Like if you're going to be doing that, you should totally, any property that you're holding on to and you're making money, like let's just think about it. If you kept that money that you had from, like, let's just say that you did a Airbnb, and let's just say that you did like an Airbnb, and like this $50,000 house, you're going to make like $2,000 a month on. You're going to do like $100 a night or $75 a night or something. Okay. And like if you put all that money into that, can you imagine like if you could just pay those houses off so fast? I mean, literally like just like rocket science. Okay. So highly recommend that you please keep that in mind when you start buying all these houses. Okay. Okay. So I saw a couple of questions. Let me just make sure I didn't miss some. I understand the cash flow calculation from a monthly perspective, but are you doing a break-even calculation to take the upfront repairs into repair costs into account? Looks like you just hit on it. Okay, good. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. So with the repairs, yeah. So repairs would be kind of like, I mean, in the real estate investing world, it's called CapEx. But that's really like a commercial term. But yeah, you would take that. That's an amount that you would take on the front end, right? So calculate that into your cost. Yes, exactly. Maybe a bit off topic, but what do you think about putting each rental into a separate LLC? No. Okay. I mean, actually, I'm not a lawyer. Like you'll talk to like 10 different lawyers and you'll get 10 different answers on what you do. Okay. But essentially, if you really want to really protect yourself, you're going to have you should be buying these properties in LLCs. Okay. But what you want to do is like what we do is we put everything in land trusts. Land trusts. Okay. So what that means is that we have like an LLC. We have several LLCs, and basically what my accountant told me, and I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, I'm not an attorney. So you definitely, does everybody here have Legal Shield? Because you should definitely be getting Legal Shield. If not, go to the members portal and get Legal Shield, because then you can talk to them about all this stuff, right? And they'll just give you answers. But essentially, what my accountant told me was like one LLC should hold no more than $1 million. Okay, so what happens is like once you start getting more than $1 million, and you need several different companies. And what we do is we have one LLC, and then we buy all of our properties in land trusts. So we'll have like X amount of properties in a land in a company, but every single one of them is separated out through land trusts. And so that's a high level concept. So if you're a newbie, don't worry about it, right? You just got to get going. This is like once you start getting all these assets and stuff, and then after a while, I tell you, stick with us, and you'll be doing exactly what I say, right? But right now, don't make it so complicated, okay? And we will definitely have people that are teaching on this too, like asset protection and land trusts and things like that. So don't worry about this. But essentially for right now, all you need is an LLC. That's it. Just one LLC. And then you could put up to $1 million worth of property into that LLC. Okay. And then what happened was I had like in one company, I had like 30 property. And my accountant was like, you can't do that, Stacy. You have got to figure out how you're going to like protect your assets, essentially. And so that's when I was like, okay, I really need to figure this out. He's like, you can't have this many properties in one company. And so I was like, okay. So then we started really learning about asset protection. We learned about land trusts, and just like went on this whole big tangent. My husband handles all this too. He's the master at like really, I have no idea all the stuff that we own and like how it's like all connected to each other anymore, because it's like all over the place, right? But essentially I got to the point where I had like 30 properties in one company, and my accountant was like, you need to figure this out. And so now we have like a lot of different companies, and then they own only several properties in each of those companies. Okay, cool, good, all right. And then that's okay. Okay, Gina says, I love this. Yes, I'm telling you, if you do this, this is a game changer and a life changer. If you can do this concept, this is a game changer and a life changer. Okay, especially, does anybody here want to get into rentals? Just out of curiosity, because this is really going to change everything. Okay, good. All right. So we are analyzing property is what we're doing. We're talking about analyzing property. We talked last week about wholesaling and rehabbing. This week we talked a little bit about rentals, right? And like this is the same concept, and all the rental property. And like for instance on yeah. So rental property, ARVs. Oh yeah, so this is the concept for rentals, right? So hopefully you guys can do that. And then, like I said, run your numbers with a deal calculator, either an app on your phone, or go online and you can search one, or download one of them from the forms directory if you like an Excel spreadsheet type of thing. Okay, so that's kind of how I would do it. And then just get in the practice of running numbers. And usually with rental properties, you're between like an 8 and a 10% cap rate. Usually you want to stick between the 8 and the 10% cap rate. So you'll run numbers, and sometimes they'll give you like an ROI, and you want to stick to about like, and you want to stick to like a profit of around like 10% profit. You want to stick to like a good, like double digit profit or cap rate is awesome. All right. When you start getting into these like smaller profits and cap rates, then it's just like it eats your money away. People don't realize this, and I see it all the time. All right, so when you start running your numbers on your calculators and stuff, just keep that in mind as well too. Okay, I shoot for a 15% ROI on everything that I do. I shoot for like 15% cap rate as well too on everything that I do. And in the end, if I make that, in between 10 and 20% of ROI, I'm happy. Okay. And you'll see that when you get into deal analyzers. Now I wanted to share my screen with you, and I wanted to show you. Okay, hang on. Let me see how to find these. Let me log in and show you the. First of all, I wanted to just go into Privy. Does anybody have Privy? Privy. It's like getprivy.com. We use Privy to run our. We use Privy to run our numbers. So let me see if I can figure this out. So I wanted to share that with you. That's the wrong Privy. This is not the right Privy. I think it's Get Privy. Yeah. I always come up to this page. Or maybe it's not Get Privy. What is it? I'm not sure. Okay, also tell me if you can see my screen. Yeah, Privy Real Estate and Get Privy Now is what it is. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen in the chat so I can see y'all. Okay. Everybody good? Put a yes in the chat. I can't see the chat. Zoom is so confusing. It's like, why would I not be able to see the chat? There it goes. Okay. It's like I click the chat and it should like come up to chat, right? For being a billion-dollar company, it should be so much easier. Okay, let me log in to Privy. Has anybody got onto Privy before? Just out of curiosity, who uses Privy here? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into Privy and we're going to, run some comps, check the thing out. You're not seeing my Privy screen at all? Okay, what are y'all seeing? Okay, hang on. Maybe I got to Zoom is sometimes funny like that. Okay, now you should be able to see. Okay. Okay, so we're in Privy now. Okay, good. All right, so now what you could do, select any city. So these are the cities that Privy is in, right? So you can go and like look up. This is like where all like they have attachments to any type of MLS. Okay. If you're not on here, then then I would look at like some other programs, like look at PropStream or REI Pro or something like this, right? I know REI Pro. They use, I think, public data to run comps. I'm not sure about PropStream. We're working right now with PropStream to get like an REI USA discounted rate. So y'all hang tight with that as well too. Let's see what else. And Privy also has a great rate. So you just let them know that you're with us. Let's see. Okay, so here's like the Georgia area. So we'll just get all up into Georgia. Actually, you can select your city here. So we'll get into Atlanta. Okay. And so here's like all the areas where there's properties for sale. Okay. So we'll just get into like, let's just look here. Let's see what's a good area. I like me some Jonesboro or something like this. That's like out of here it is. Okay. Here's Jonesboro. There's one house for sale in Jones. I'm telling you, if you're in Jonesboro, those houses just go so fast. Isn't it so funny when you pull up the MLS and you see like how many houses for sale in this area, and there's like 4? Isn't that crazy? Okay, so these are active right here. Let's see. Okay, here, like, and now you can see this house is $210,000. $210,000 in Jonesboro? What's happening here? Forest Park. I'm not in the right spot. Okay. Here's Aspen. Let's click on this one here. What's this? This is Atlanta. This is not, this is Riverdale. Okay. So when you open this up, essentially what you'll do is you'll see the house. This is a rehabbed house, right? So you can see like, this is like brand new. You can click on the pictures. You can look over. This is definitely a rehabbed house. As you can see, it's all nice and pretty. They didn't even stage it. They were like, whatever, just put it on. It's $190,000. It's in Riverdale. It's a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And so now we can look up comps. There's like hardly any comps in this area right here. There's a rental right here. And let's see if there's any investor activity. You can click on investor activity and it will show you like if there's any investors in the area that are doing any work, but there's nothing for sale, nothing here. So there's no comps coming up. So we'll find something that's a little bit different. Yeah, because there's nothing here at all. Let me zoom out. See if I can find a better area for us. This is that's a new construction house. This is new construction. These are bigger. Let's see if we can find, here's $170,000 house. This one looks like a rental rehab. Let's see. Yeah, see, nice and clean rental rehab. You see the difference between this house and the other one? It's like, this one is just like, it looks good. It's fine. Especially in this market, less is more. I'm telling y'all, less is more right now. All right, so this is like definitely a rental house, as you can see, right? And so this one here is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,344 square feet. And you can see here, so it's sold. These sold in the last 8 months. These 2 houses. This one on 438 Paul Street right here sold for $104,000. And this one right here, right next to it, sold for $133,000. Sorry, I'm blind. $191,000. And you can see the square footage right here. So it's 1,344 square feet, 1,254, and 1,304. Okay. And then here you see these are under contract. 319. Timberland is under contract for $150,000, and it's 1,198 square feet, right? And then right here you can see the price per square foot. Okay, so essentially, like on these 2 houses right here, you're saying, okay, look, this one is 1,344 square feet. It's 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. All right, at $126 a square foot. These 2 right here are about the same, 1,254 and 1,304. Right, this one sold for 82 and this one sold for 145. All right, so we could say like, what's the medium sell price per square foot? And you can even add this one in as well too, 120. So this is like 1,198 and it's $150,000. And it's sold for at $125 a square foot, right? So you could really be like, okay, yeah, so this one actually has more square footage. And as you can see, that's why it's sold for, that's why it's listed for a little bit more, something like that, okay? or sold for that much more. So that's kind of, you take the average median price when you do your deal analysis. Okay, so I wanted to kind of show you this, like, so you can take a look at how to run deal analysis when you're looking at comps. Okay, and you look at like the square footage of the house, the bedrooms, the bathrooms. You look at the price per square foot, and then you kind of take an average. Right, this is what I do, at least I take like an average. Now it'll show you, like on Privy, it'll say we think this house is worth X amount of dollars. Like if you put an address, like a specific address in, it'll do that as well too. But you should be able to like at least figure out how to do it just in case. Okay. Then it also gives you rental data as well too. Like what are the rents that are going for in the area, and that's all right here as well. So you can look this up and see how to do rental data. You can pick out rental data on the comps, and then you can also click investor activity, and you could see like, are there any like people actually flipping houses in this area? And there's nothing coming up. There's not a lot of like, so essentially people are really buying them not at 70% LTV. They're not buying them super duper cheap. They're probably doing rental rehabs is what they're doing. Right. So they're doing very minimal work to these properties. And what that kind of shows to me is this is kind of an area where the houses are like all probably about the same price, but they probably don't need a lot of work. Right. So this would actually be a very good rental area if you were interested in rentals. When you start seeing that people are doing very minimal work. Like if you went into like downtown Atlanta area and like started picking houses, like you would see a lot of investor activity, right? Because you could buy like super cheap houses, put some money into them and sell them. All right. That's kind of like, so in the certain areas, and I'm sure y'all know this with the areas that y'all are in, there are certain areas within your market where it's like, oh, there's like a lot of investor activity going on. And if you don't know this, the best way to find out is like to sit and kind of just like play around with something like a program like Privy, where it's like, is there a lot of investor activity in this area? No, there's not. Then most likely people are they're selling those houses right at about what they're listed, like they should be listed at, right? The ARV formula. So there's not a lot of room to do like huge big rehabs. Okay, so John, actually like the Jonesboro, Riverdale area is like most of the time when you're going in, it's like paint carpet, like throw on some Formica cabinets like we saw, like some Formica countertops, and just like spruce it up and clean it up, and then that's it, and just put it on the market. And they buy them at like very like close to the to the to the sell price. Right now, you want to make sure that there's enough spread, and you want to make sure that you buy it, that you're calculating that spread. But at least you can kind of like through a software like Privy, really look at the markets and try to figure out where the investor activity is. And then if you're interested in rehabs, you'll know that's like, you don't want to be looking in a place that doesn't really have like huge big rehabs if you want to do rehabs. Now, if you want a rental place, like that place would be perfect for rentals, because you could tell there's just not a lot of activity in Jonesboro, Riverdale. If you know anything about Atlanta, it's like you buy the houses. Honestly, you buy the houses for like $100,000, and you put like 20 or 25 grand into them, and you sell them for like 170 or something like this, or you hold on to them. There's a lot of buy and holds in that area, and that's probably why that rental area came up. Whereas like in an area, like we have an area in Atlanta called like the West End, where it's like everybody is just flipping houses. Okay. Does that make sense for analyzing, at least using a comping software? So I wanted you guys to just think about like how to get like nitty gritty into analyzing, because I get this all the time. It's like, how do I know if this is really a good deal? That's the question. Does that help clear up a little bit on whether or not the deals are? So you have the way that you wholesale, and the way that you calculate with your wholesale deals, the way that you calculate with your rehabbing deals, or with any type of like a rental property, the BRRRR method, and like your Airbnb stuff. Okay, so we've been over all three of those, and I wanted to show y'all some comping for that. Does that help, or what? Any questions that y'all need me to go over for analyzing deals? And I gave you the forms, right? So in the forms directory, you'll be able to get in and find the repair estimate, the rehab statistics sheet, and then you can also find deal analyzers on your phone. Like Deal Check would be perfect. And I'm going to contact Deal Check and see if we can get a good deal from them for all my members. Because that's probably one of the ones that, like, a lot of my students actually use Deal Check. Okay. Any final questions about analyzing deals or comping? Okay. All right. Well, I will see you guys at the next training. All right. And if you have any other questions, just post them in the Facebook group. Okay. We're here for you. All right. Just utilize the community in the Facebook group. All right. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.